Hey y'all, welcome back to the Speakeasy podcast. Today I have Chris and Jamie Bailey, who have genuinely become some of my favorite humans. I got to be on their podcast last year, and so it was just a matter of time before I got to have them on mine. They are the people behind Expedition Marriage. They're both Christian counselors. They have a thriving marriage, but it wasn't always like that. And I don't know about you, but those are my favorite people to learn about marriage from. The ones that are open and honest about what they have walked through, what God had to do, break, mend, and reform for them to be where they are today. So we kind of covered a lot of ground. We talked about those really rough early years where she had a lot of anxiety. We talked about what that's like on both ends for him and for her and for their marriage and how she came out of that. We talked about counseling and we talked about somatic therapy and we talked about putting anxiety in the trunk. And we also talked about what it takes today to have a marriage where you don't just love each other, you also like each other. Because for Jeremy and I, that's really become the goal. Like, I don't want to just love you because I stood in front of a bunch of people and said I would, but because I like you and I enjoy you and you are my best friend. And so I think there's a lot for everybody. I think this is gonna be great for singles and for marrieds and for people that are in the in-between. So let's get into it. Oh my gosh, Chris and Jamie, welcome to the Speakeasy.
Oh, thanks for having us. Yeah, this is fun.
This is exciting for me because I got to be on y'all's podcast in the past and it was just a dream. Like, I just, you know, those people that you feel like I'm hanging out with my mom and dad and we're just like hanging out and talking. And I'm like, I feel like a sponge when I'm with y'all or when I'm looking at your content. I just want to like soak it in and learn. I'm so thankful for your wisdom and your willingness to share and like create spaces and resources for those of us that are, we're coming behind you, trying to do this well and do this right. And so before we jump in, tell us a little bit about yourselves and Expedition Marriage.
Sure. You want to?
Oh boy. Yeah. It's funny because we weren't, we're both counselors and we've always been Christian counselors, but we weren't always marriage counselors. But what happened, at least this is my part of the story, how Expedition Marriage kind of got started, is I used to see a lot of kids in the school system, and I used to see individuals in our practice when we had a brick and mortar practice, and over and over and over, the common theme was broken families. Mm-hmm. And everybody, whether they're in there for anxiety or depression or, other issues, the root was always the broken family. Mm. And at one point, he's always had a heart for marriages more. But at one point, I'm like, we have to, get to the root of things and start fixing the families and start, bringing hope to families, because broken families, they're putting out unhealthy children and they're making their lives harder. And, and I see that firsthand in our own family now. And I'm sure we'll talk about this, but we didn't have the strongest of starts. Mm-hmm. I came from a whole line, like generations of divorce and broken families and all kinds of things. And now I'm sitting here and knowing how much work we had to do with the Lord and how much we had to partner with him for that change. And now we have 3 adult daughters who are all married with kids. They all know Jesus. Mm-hmm. They're teaching their kids about the Lord, and they are in solid marriages. And it's like, wow, and I don't say that pridefully, but also I worked my tail off.
It's something to be proud. That is the goal, like mission accomplished.
It's the grace of God to change that legacy. And so now getting to see our kids do not have to work on the same things. It's like there was a tab to be paid and I stepped up to the plate and we were willing to pay it.
Yeah.
And so now our kids don't have to. Yeah. And so that's an amazing thing. And so getting to that, it was really hard to transition because I'm working with these kids and young adults and I'm like, oh, I want to keep helping them, but I had to let go of them a little bit.
To help them.
Yes, to help them.
Yeah.
And so that's when we decided to launch Expedition Marriage and go, let's just go all in and
help in front of this.
Changing marriages.
Stop fighting a forest fire with a squirt gun.
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, you're trying to like hit all of these issues. And it sounds like God was like, here's the root.
Yes.
Let's do this.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I definitely always had a heart for marriages. And I was when I was doing an internship, I was working with a youth group, a group counseling of youth.
Words are hard.
Yeah, words are hard. And one of the girls who was really kind of standoffish to me was going, "Why do you even want to do this? Why do you even?" I said, "Well, really, I want to get to the parents before they have time to mess up their kids."
Mm.
And she looked at me and she's with a look kind of like, "You get it. Someone finally gets it." And from then on, she was just tight because she's got someone who's, an advocate for her. But yeah, I've always had a heart for marriages. We got saved late, in our late 20s, and going to church after that and seeing the rates of pain and hurt in marriages that was about the same rate as the world never sat right with me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I remember seeing that stat for the first time and then experiencing it. Like I'm 37. So I'm at the age where things are starting to fall apart for some people.
Yes.
And, their kids are getting older and there's less holding them together. And it's hard to watch, especially when these people have Jesus. And we want to be set apart and we want to look different from a world that kind of considers marriage a lot of time a throwaway or, not worth working through. And anytime we talk about this kind of stuff, I like to give the disclaimer and the qualifier on the front end, right? We are not talking about abusive marriages.
Yes.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
We are not, there are causes. Absolutely. I have helped a friend move out before. Okay.
Yeah.
Like there are causes for marriages to end. We also live in a culture that just throws them away a lot of the time. And so that's what we really want to lean in and talk about today is like fighting for your marriage and not just, to me, like not just a marriage that survives, but a marriage that thrives.
Yes.
I said when we were talking before we started recording, like I like you and I love you kind of marriages. That is that is the goal. Yeah. And so let's go back to the beginning a little bit because you guys are super open about dysfunction and that it was not always, sunshine and rainbows. And that is always, that's always just helpful to hear that you can look at a thriving marriage and that it didn't start that way.
Right. Yeah, sure. No, I never have a problem being open about Jamie's dysfunction.
He's calling it like it is, really.
No, we both had our own dysfunction.
It takes two.
It takes two.
The weights are skewed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, that's one thing that we tell people. Just because one might look larger and be louder, more demonstrative, more passionate, right, doesn't mean that the other one isn't as dysregulated.
Exactly.
Right.
And they're just quieter about it.
Oh yeah, that one that's trying to go, well, let's just calm down. Let's just think about this logically. Well, that person's freaking out inside and they need you to calm down because they're getting ready to go crazy. Right? So,
I have no idea what you're talking about. That does not sound relatable at all.
I know. And it's so true. But also like your point about, us being open and all that, I think that is one of the most beautiful things, like even reading scripture. These are not good stories about these people.
No.
And it's like, and they did own their stuff. They did. And it's like, that is such a gift of the believer.
Yeah.
You go, this is what I once was.
Yes.
And because of God's grace and mercy, this is who I am now.
Yes.
Yes.
Amen.
And so to be ashamed of our past, I mean, it's opportunity to give God glory.
Yeah.
And when we walk in pride and like, man, it's just, it's not good. And so we view that as an opportunity to testify to God's goodness.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what it is.
Yeah. I just wanted to say real fast, because I think that's to what your point earlier about seeing these people who are in the faith and they're falling apart. They're falling, their marriages are falling apart. I think it's that shame.
Yes.
It's that unwillingness to come up and say, I need help. We need help. Instead, they just are shameful. They hide until they finally pull away from the resources of the body. And the next thing you know, they're divorced. Yeah. It's like, I didn't even know that they're having problems.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly.
That is what happens. But for us, like when we got married, when we met, we were not believers.
No.
And in fact, talking about reasons for divorce, I was actually divorced. I started off, I was a pregnant teenager got married at 19 in a domestic violent marriage and left that. And 3 weeks after leaving that is when I met him. And if
so my husband and I met or started dating 2 weeks after I got out of a very like dysfunctional relationship that I dated all through college. And 2 weeks later, I was like, I think this guy's my boyfriend.
Does that sound like a time?
Yeah.
And it doesn't. And so here I am, and I meet him. He's singing. We met at a karaoke bar. He's singing Billy Joel, and I'm like, oh, he had like when he had dark brown hair. You know,
still the blue eyes.
Yeah, and the blue eyes. Yeah, and that was it. And you know, within 5 months, we moved in together. I'm talking, we're doing absolutely everything wrong,
out of order.
You know? Yes. And absolutely. I'm still going to court dates, you know, with my ex-husband and doing all these things. But everything was really good, even though we were doing it all wrong. Because in my mind, I mean, what a contrast. This violent, toxic situation to now I've got my knight in shining armor. Right. And so that savior complex was what really impacted us, because instantly he's the one who's going to fix all the problems. He's going to right every wrong. And in the beginning, he did. Like, he was doing a really great job.
Well, in the beginning, I wanted to.
Yes. It wasn't sustainable.
Yeah. How can I please you? How can I be put on this pedestal and impress you and all that?
Yeah. It wasn't exhausting yet.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. Yeah, it wasn't so high and so precarious at the time.
Right.
Eventually it turns into something like a scene from Indiana Jones, you know?
Yeah.
Was it? Because we got married a couple years later and went on to have kids. We have 3 daughters, and life got busier. And that's when, what's crazy is we were invited to go to church by a friend from my work, actually. And we were thinking, you know what? We don't know anything to teach our kids. Let's go. It'll be a fun Sunday. We can go to church
family day.
That's how God gets people, though. I have multiple friends that have relationships with Jesus now because they were like, I don't really necessarily believe in it, but I want my kids to have good moral fiber. And so they started bringing their kids to kids ministry, and then God just like gets them, you know?
Yes. Yeah. And that's exactly what it was. And so through that process, and we went for like the Wednesday night dinners, you know, when churches would have that. Like, it is like $10, family of 5.
Family. Can't do that anywhere.
Yeah. And so that's and then we became believers, you know, through that process. And that is when like God's going, great, you've got me now. I'm dumping it all on the table.
Yeah. Now we got to deal with it.
That's when like anxiety through the roof. I spent like 3 years in my home because I couldn't leave. I'd try to go to the store and have panic attacks, and I'd leave my cart and come back home. And it was just relentless. And like, I was so desperate for change, but it was through that process that I did start getting counseling and I did start getting some hope and having that, you know, eliminated, and God has healed so much of that. But at first, like, all of that's coming up, I wanted him to fix it.
Yeah.
And I spent years like, I'm on edge. You need to make me feel better. The kids are out of control. They're being, and they were great kids, but they're just the chaos. When you have anxiety, the noise, the parent, like the decisions, all of that. And I'm like, do this, do that, do more, help me. You're not doing anything. And You're
no longer saving me.
I started looking to him to go, you are falling really short, buddy, because I'm miserable. And it's your job to make sure I'm not miserable. Yeah. So I'm putting this massive pressure on this man who is just nice, beautifully shaped like a pleaser.
Yeah.
And so he was jumping through all the hoops and it was good until it wasn't.
Oh yeah. Pleasers will please so they can't.
Until you literally like run out of bandwidth. And I don't know about you, but a lot of the time what I've seen is that you push them far enough and now like, good luck.
Yes.
Good luck.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, right. Exactly. You've like pushed them past their limit. I want to talk for a second about being married to a really anxious woman. Because that, I don't know that we talk about that a whole lot.
Yeah.
Jeremy could probably sit down and do an entire podcast episode about it. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, I've had we have very similar stories
Yeah.
in that case. I spent, I would say, probably the first 5 to 6 years of my children's lives.
Mm.
They feel like a blur because
Yeah.
anxiety ran the show. And one thing
Yeah.
about anxiety, this is going to step on some people's toes, and that's okay. It makes you really selfish because you're just trying to survive. You're just trying to keep your head above water and get through the day and do the next thing. And I look back at, like, I didn't really see anybody else because all I could see was the fear and the feelings.
It's total
And
survival.
it's total survival. And so you've been married for a couple of years, you've got a bunch of kids, and now all of a sudden your wife descends into essentially the abyss that is anxiety.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was that like? Do you remember being like, who are you?
Helplessness and inadequacy.
Yeah.
That a lot of life is like that.
Yeah.
Scrambling, trying to, what can I do? Not to mention, how do I not get triggered out of her anxiety? Because her panic and, well, this is a mess and all the houses, I'm like, well, it's not that big of a deal. I need you to calm down, honey, because you're freaking out. It's going to freak me out. And so I'll clean up the kitchen. I'll do this. And, and so it spins the other person out. Because I wasn't as well grounded. I wasn't experiencing the generalized anxiety. I wasn't feeling the angst unless she was coming at me with the angst.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so there certainly is a certain amount of distancing, because I learned real quickly, I can't fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't fix it. So there's a little bit of, fix me. And I'm like, I can't. And I feel inadequate. And I'm not going to voice that I feel helpless. So I'm just going to go ahead and provide some distance to this. So that way I'm not exposed as much to it.
It's safety. It's self-protection.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then that would ignite my anxiety even more because I'm looking to him to save me. He doesn't know what to do, so he starts backing away.
Yeah.
And now I'm panicking even more.
Great. Now my marriage is falling apart.
Yeah. And not to mention some of the things he did, like with the greatest intention and greatest heart. And this happens a lot, is when anxiety shows up, we often try to appease it and give anxiety what it wants. That is fueling it.
Yep.
That is feeding the monster. And so that is not always helpful when we start making these conditions. That's how I ended up, at home so much, because my world got smaller and smaller.
I'll do the shopping for you, honey.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Very helpful. And it's actually not helpful.
Yes.
It just made us both temporarily feel better. But, it actually just makes your world smaller. But it's
placating the situation, not really solving anything.
Yes.
And it to your point, as far as it makes you selfish. Well, I don't know if it makes you very self-protective and very focused on whatever can I do to mitigate threat.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So I think selfish is like a general word for it. I think if we got into the nitty gritty, that's not the actual motivation. But I look back and I'm like,
it's
everything revolved around surviving.
Yes.
Me, me being able to keep my head above water for 12 hours.
Exactly.
I think semantically, it probably was selfishness. It just wasn't coming from a place of I'm the most important thing. It was like,
right,
I got to get through this. So you start getting counseling, which I would venture to think that you guys feel the same way. I don't, God can do whatever he wants. He is very powerful. And so much of my healing, and I know yours as well, was through the miraculous grace of God. So I think most of the time we need some help. We got to have somebody help pull us out of the pit.
Yeah. And there's the level of general anxiety where it's it's normal. There are some feelings that, but when anxiety starts controlling your life and when you're living so hyper vigilantly, it absolutely is some time for help. But there's also time to stop getting help, because now I think that pendulum has swung and we love the labels.
We are therapized to death.
Yes.
Yep.
And so therapy
And this is
was
two
never,
counselors saying that.
I know.
yes. And therapy was never meant to replace, other confidants, your pastors, your mentors, your friends.
Taking
Those
care
are the
of
people.
yourself. Like,
Yes. But we
yeah.
get stuck on, I have anxiety,
Exercise,
so now
diet.
I'm going to need therapy for the rest of my life, where that's not necessarily true. At some point, the anxiety needs to be challenged. And I would
Yes.
always, talk to my clients about this as far as when you're battling anxiety, it's driving. It's
Mhm.
driving. And the goal number one, let's get it in the passenger seat.
Mhm.
Let's get comfortable going. You can come with me. I don't want you here, but you're going to sit over here. We are going to go to the store together.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting used. It's kind of like with grief.
Mhm.
You can't really get rid of it. You have to learn how to walk with it.
Yes.
And so then it's in the front seat. And now it's like, all right, you're going to get in the back now.
Yep.
And then eventually you're going to be in the trunk and you're going to shut your mouth.
Yep.
And then you're not even going to be in the car.
That is such a good way to put it.
And it's
It's the
such
same
a
way.
process.
It's the same way we treat our children when they're acting up.
Don't tempt me. I've been wanting to put a kid in the trunk sometimes, but it's true. Like, I think, first of all, I think we go from it being in the driver's seat to kicking it out of the car.
Right. Right.
We want this to be an overnight, especially if you've lived with it for any amount of time. Like, you're just tired and you don't, my big thing was like, I didn't recognize myself.
Yeah.
It got to the point where I was like, who am I? What do I like? What brings me joy? What makes me happy? And some of that is the undoing, is like moving anxiety into its proper places in the vehicle is like, yes, I love therapy. I'm actually in therapy again right now. I was in it for a couple years, took a long break. We kind of we play musical therapy in our family. So it's like, it's your turn. It's my turn.
Yes.
It's your turn.
And check-ins are great. And recalibration is great.
Yeah. But I love that you said that it's not meant to be like the long term, like you should graduate from therapy.
Yeah. One of the things that like early on, and at least when we were getting our masters, they taught it. I don't know it's anymore. Was
what they're teaching now.
Is your support network.
Yeah.
Right. 50% of your healing should be your support network.
Wow. Yeah. Which makes sense because there's the ones that are actually walking it out with you. Like, I think that outside perspective is so valuable. Like the neutral going to somebody that's not in it.
Yeah.
To get that perspective in therapy. But 100%, like, but you know what the thing about anxiety is it's really hard to have a network.
Yes.
When you're super anxious.
Yeah.
Because you're having a really hard time being anything to anybody.
Yeah.
Or letting anybody into anything because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm such a burden. I'm such a mess. And so like, I've always I think you start in therapy, but a good therapist or a good counselor is going to want to be moving you towards, hey, I don't think I need to come anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's the first time we meet with clients is we're working ourselves out of a job. That's our job.
Yeah. That's
and
the goal.
Who's in therapy might not have the right approach. I don't know. I'm not trying to say that they are. I'm not trying to bash anybody. Big supporter of it. But yeah, it's not a crutch. It's not a new way of living. You're not taking thyroid medicine for the rest of your life. You're learning new skills, new insights. You're getting that perspective. You're learning how to be compassionate with yourself and with an anxiety who was there when no one else was there trying to look out for you. And so now it's just doesn't need to do that job anymore.
Yeah.
And so we just needed to rework how that works. And so we get all that in line and we start to practice and have a place for sounding board of where it's going. And then we're able to keep moving on. And then once, if we needed to check the engine, right? And,
absolutely.
or something like that, go back, get the oil change, whatever.
Yeah.
It's a process of taking new steps and gaining new growth with somebody who understands the process and is able to walk along with you for a little while.
Yeah. Do you remember, because I do you remember a moment where you were like, oh, I think I'm getting better. Like we're taking a turn here.
Yeah, I do. For me, it's actually a weird little moment because I was on, because when you move your body, when you have anxiety, that's like a skill we all know. I got on the treadmill and I'm running on the treadmill, and all of a sudden I'm running and I'm running and I'm feeling, and I related it back, like the feeling of my anxiety, like that crushing weight, back to a time like when both of my parents have passed away and all of that. But there was a time when I was a child who was locked in my room, and everything would be taken out and barricaded against the door. And that feeling of running around in there trapped, that was my anxiety. And when I'm on this treadmill running and praying, and all of a sudden I am running farther and farther, and it was like a little key just unlocked, and it's like, that's where it is. That's where it is. And you are not her.
Yeah.
You are not her anymore. You are free. And I have moved all the stuff that has been barricaded. And that was probably the first, like, okay, I can do this. And then I developed, like, do it afraid. Just do. And I started doing everything afraid. And that worked for a season. But then that could become very hyper vigilant, and it's like, now you're constantly doing hard things, which can fuel other things in your life. And so that was a big moment for me.
Yeah, that would be huge. And that was inner child work.
Yes.
Essentially, which can get a bad rep in the Christian world. I don't know if you've seen any of that going around.
Oh yeah, with the somatic therapy and all that stuff.
I'm like, I love listening to people that have clearly never actually dug into something, behave like experts in it. It's my personal favorite.
And it can certainly be misused.
Anything can though.
Yes, overdone and all that. But it can also be, I mean, God made our entire bodies, train up a child in the way they should go. Our training, how we were trained up, it matters.
Yes.
And where there's traumas and dysfunction and all that, we get stuck there.
Yep.
100%. So it's very real. But do we need to do all the woo-woo aspects of it? Probably not. Yeah. But is it a real thing that has merit? Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Body, spirit.
Yeah. Same with nervous system work. That gets, that's getting looked at too. And it's like, no, God made our entire bodies.
Who made the nervous system?
Yes. Who causes us to breathe?
Yes.
Who says, hey, you know what? It's winter and there's a cave right there. You probably shouldn't go into it.
Right.
There's this protective thing.
Exactly.
It's just when that gets rewired or miswires and hijacked, and then you don't know the difference between your snake and a spouse, right?
Right.
That's when it becomes a problem.
Right. Yeah. I always tell people, I'm like, because people will say, it's like a hard no, like you shouldn't do these things. I'm like, because it can go too far. I'm like, people become sex addicts. Are we all supposed to just stop doing something that God created to be really beautiful within, the bounds of marriage? Like, we gotta stop trying to be each other's Holy Spirits. All right.
Yes.
Not that that's a soapbox for me or at all.
Yeah.
But...
Oh no, I get it. I totally get it. I get very feisty, and sometimes I'm like, and it's just, and I'll keep my mouth shut sometimes because I'm like, it's kind of pointless and it doesn't matter. And I know I will get way too ramped up.
Right. I'm gonna have to repent for my response to this, so I'm just gonna not. That's what I have to tell myself sometimes.
That's exactly it. And I just remind myself, I'm doing my part.
Yes.
I'm doing the work, how I'm showing up, how I'm living my life.
Yeah.
How I'm sharing the gospel and helping people. That's enough for me.
Yep.
That's enough. I don't need to be all things to all people. I don't need to right every wrong. And that's exhausting work. It's exhausting.
It is. So we're gonna skip some of the middle part, okay? Because I know that's a long, I know from experience that coming out of that is a long, kind of like a lot of the time boring process. Not that your story is boring, but it's just a lot of like relearning how to live. And like the analogy,
and
repetition, moving the anxiety to the trunk, relearning how to connect with each other and how to like view each other through proper lenses in proper roles. And we'll do another podcast episode because there's other stuff that I want to talk about, but we'll do another and we'll talk about all the middle stuff, because what I love about you guys now and what I admire about you and kind of like I think I said earlier, like feel like a sponge and just want to soak it all up, is that you guys really like each other.
Oh yeah.
You like each other and you love each other, and your affection for one another is like contagious and it's adorable. And I think that that is what the world needs more than
Yeah.
anything in marriage right now, across the board. I mean, we talked earlier, like a lot of Christian relationships are looking eerily similar to secular ones. And I think it's because we've lost sight on like how to have fun together and how to enjoy one another and view each other as like, my husband is genuinely my best friend.
Yeah.
Like, I think people say that because there was a point where I would like, he's my best friend. He really wasn't. Like, my girlfriend was my best friend and he was like in the rankings.
Yeah.
Now, like him over anything, over anybody. I have to work really hard to like be social because I'm cool to just hang with my dude all the time. He's who I want to tell the exciting things and the hard things and who I want to process things with. And anytime I share about that, I don't know if you guys get this, but anytime I share about that, I get so many DMs from single women a lot. Like, dear God, I just want to find a husband that I like love this much.
Yeah.
But then also from married women who are like, I love this. Like, I'm working towards this. And so I want to start with the pushback, because sometimes people will be like, this isn't realistic. This isn't real life. I think all three of us are here to say it very much is.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I guess the first question is, why not? Why can't you be best friends with your spouse?
Yeah.
Who said that that's not possible?
The world.
Right? You know, was it Ed Bundy? And
yeah.
Seriously, I mean, we are similar. We do all these things together, and sometimes we do have to be intentional about, okay, I need to actually go have lunch with a friend and all that.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I tend to have a lot of questions about health insurance. Like, what am I paying for? And why does it feel like I'm not paying for anything? Why does it feel like this is actually not helping me get healthier or feel better? If you have similar questions, I have a great answer, and that is Crowd Health. With Crowd Health, you pay an upfront monthly fee, and with that, you get access to a whole bunch of stuff. A team of people who will help negotiate your bills, vetted list of doctors in your area, as well as lower cost prescriptions and testing. Then if something big does happen, you pay the first $500 and then the crowd steps in and covers the rest, which is really how something like this should work. So you can join Crowd Health today and get started for $99 for your first 3 months by using the code Speakeasy when you go to joincrowdhealth.com. That's joincrowdhealth.com, code Speakeasy. And remember, Crowd Health is not insurance, but this is how you can opt out of a broken system and take your power back at joincrowdhealth.com.
Crawl in him. I think you did a reel on that one time, like crawling into your husband, like where is your skin? Like,
I would wear my husband like a skin suit.
Yes.
If I could.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel that deeply. That is it. Yeah.
He is safety. He is like the best of me. And I think it is. It's like, who told you that? And I was thinking when you made that Ed Bundy reference, what is that? Married with Children?
Married with Children.
Yeah. The spectrum that we have been shown in culture is so crazy, right? If you are getting your example from like TV's movie media, it's either the like rom-com, which is unrealistic. They like never fight. They are up each other's butts, or it's they can't stand each other. They talk about each other negatively. They cut each other down. It's like, as with everything, the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Well, even then, just if we just take a lot of biblical principles about relationships and start looking those in the context of marriage, right? That's our that's the first institution that God made in Genesis before the church, before government. It was marriage.
Yeah.
And so if we look at that context, at any time there's a relational statement, doesn't have to say husbands or wives. So even just, if a brother sins or sister, right, then, and you have a problem with that, go to them and talk it over. If they have a problem, then we can start to include other people. And
God, that's such a good point.
And so if you have a problem with your spouse, go to them first say, hey, but that's the challenge. There's a lot of people out there that they don't feel comfortable or confident being able to share their thoughts and feelings with their spouse. If they've got a problem, especially, there's a lot of, we talked about pleasers, right? There's avoiders, right? There's a whole spectrum of people who are like, I'm not going to stir that pot.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bring that up. I'll just hold on to the resentment instead.
Yeah. And I think the world is just pointing us in a direction too. And we had spoken about this recently where everything needs to be fixed. They're pointing out, and there are some very valid things that are out there in the marriage world, like the mental load, very valid. But it shifts our focus towards, we'll see that information, be like, yes, that's it. And now we're looking for that information, in our spouse. And so we're
confirmation bias.
Yes. And if this is, we're being shown all the negative, all the problems, and we're relating to that. And so some of this in your relationship, there is a part of your brain, I don't know if you're familiar with it, called the reticular activating system.
Okay.
And what that does is it basically acts as a filter. You're getting I think 11 million thoughts or 11 million things coming in, pieces of information like a second. And your brain has to grab and choose which one it deems important. And you are the one telling them what's important. Do you want to add?
It'll filter it down to about 40.
Okay.
So you'll only get about 40 pieces of information per second. And so as Jamie was saying, what you tell yourself matters. So if you tell you about my spouse is always doing this, or they're always getting mad at this, all that, well, it's very much as it was like when you buy a new car, you see that car on the road. There wasn't
that's your reticular activating system.
There wasn't a whole bunch of people who went out and bought that car at the same time. It just now you're noticing confirmation bias. So if you're saying this is how it is, this miraculous brain that God had created is also kind of dumb and only knows what you tell it. And it can only give you so much information. So if you tell it, this is the information I want, it'll throw out all the other information.
And even beyond that is if you start thinking, wow, I am carrying the mental load, my husband's not doing anything, that system in your brain goes, you're deeming this important. So now let me look for affirmation about
let me gather information.
And so now your brain is saying, well, not only is he doing that, but he's also doing this. And he's also doing that. And now you're collecting all this negative information.
Look at how right you are.
Yes. And so now you've got your brain working against you, but you are training it, because this isn't a system that breaks. It's a system that's trainable. You have to train it. And that's where oh my goodness, how much scripture talks about gratitude and being grateful. It literally changes your brain. And that's part of the design of it. But when we see this reel, or we read this thing, or hear this negative thing, that's like, well, my husband does that too. It's so annoying. Well, here, let me give you a list of all the other things he does that's annoying. And the same, it works the opposite as well. And what I do a lot of is, you are amazing. You are so fun. You are my best friend. I love that you do this. It's so funny when you're like that, whatever it is. And so now I actually have a brain that is scanning our relationship for the good.
Right. Because it'll do the opposite.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. And so when you start to build that, and when you start, that's where, and these are the things where you talk to couples about, being more grateful, and it's like, it feels so, insignificant, and that's just dumb. No, you are training your brain. And for me, I like making that connection. If you bring neuroscience into it and combine that with faith, that's something that's really big for me. So I'll go on my morning walks and I'm talking to myself. I'm training my reticular activating system, and I can do that when I look at it this is what I'm doing. I'm training my brain to love things around me, to see the good, to enjoy my marriage. Our children. You're
Philippians 4-ing your brain, whatever is true, whatever is good, whatever is pure.
Yes,
absolutely. And that's the thing, is that if neuroscience over and over and over just confirms what scripture already told us.
Absolutely.
Over and over.
God created neuroscience.
Exactly. Exactly.
We're all talking all over each other.
I feel like the things that the two of you just brought up work together in this really cool way that we could dig into for a minute, of the mental load, what we focus on, but then bringing issues to one another. Right. Because you're right. We will absolutely, I can think of y'all. I'm going to I'm going to put myself on the line for a second. I can think of the times where my husband is sitting on the couch and I just put the girls to bed and I'm cleaning the kitchen and I'm like, like I worked all day too. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
let me tell
Very
you what,
real.
if I open my mouth and go, hey, babe, will you come wipe the counters while I put these dishes away? That boy is on his feet.
Yep.
He is on his feet. And look, I get it that like the movies taught us we don't want to have to ask. We want them to just know. I think that the men's brains are just not wired that way a lot of the time. And understanding how differently we are hardwired can be really beneficial to marriage as well. But that like the two work in a cycle. Yes, like we should be bringing hard things to one another, but we shouldn't be scanning for or allowing social media or our circle or whatever else create issues that aren't there.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Nor should we be focusing so intently on the one issue that is there that we're now, because you're going to magnify what you focus on.
100%.
And so when we see that one thing, you could have easily sat there and stewed for 10 minutes.
Yeah. The story you're telling yourself. The story you're telling yourself is, look, he doesn't even care that I'm up here. Like he doesn't even
must
bother
be nice.
him that I have to do all that. That must mean he doesn't really love me as much as I, right. It just,
snowballs.
You know, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things that we did a retreat. We had a couple who was married over 38 years and because I think I'm funny, I asked them, okay, so at what year did mind reading happen?
For real though,
right? You've got to ask. Should our brains, should we be able to pick up on clues? Yes, after a while, right? We should start to make an effort to pick up on that and to be able to be a resource to each other. Next to God, we're each other's most important resource.
Yes.
So we should be intentional about doing that, but it doesn't mean we're going to think the same ways or we're going to have the same things on our radar. That would, if all of us had the same exact things on our radar and we were thinking about this kid, well, then the other one goes running off.
Nothing's going to get done. My husband is really great about shooting me a text around noon and being like, you want to get a little crazy later? I'm like, oh yes, let's add that to the the running list. Let's make that a priority. And it's honestly, it's the same as, hey, can you help me with the dishes? Like the two come out in the wash. And so it's finding a way. I think one of the biggest things that we've done that has benefited our marriage is finding a way to communicate our needs and desires to one another without feeling like we're nagging. And I think the clutch thing with that is doing what they ask you to do within reason. Obviously, people will take that too far, but Jeremy left his Bible at church today. Or Sunday. And he was like, hey, can you pick it up for me? And I was like, I really don't want to do that. But I will. I'm going to drive by. I will swing by and pick up your Bible. I love that he felt like he could ask me to do that because you better bet I have a picture I want him to hang later. Yes. You know what I mean? And he's going to come home and I'm going to have a honeydew. And that it's so much give and take. And that they're kind of going back to, the anxiety that we're talking about. There are going to be seasons where one of you is taking more and one of you is giving more. Anybody that's walked through postpartum has experienced that. And then Jeremy's working a lot in this season. Work takes a lot from him. So going back to the mental load conversation, a lot of it does fall on me. Yes, 100%. We agreed on this together. We knew that this was going to be what this season looked like. Are there still days where I'm like, good Lord, this is a lot and I am tired? Yeah, for sure. But I feel like we're actually talking a lot about just open communication.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, and we get good at what we practice.
Amen.
Right. And so if we're practicing just talking about anything and everything, then it becomes easier to start asking for this. If we ask
just freaking yapping, just yapping. We loved, I don't know why our bathroom is I told Jeremy, I'm like, I'm gonna start bringing a mic in here because we're recording, we're podcast episoding, but not capturing it, which I'm joking. But we will sit in there for an hour and then all of a sudden we're both I'm sitting on the counter and he's in the chair and I'm my butt's asleep. like move somewhere else. But just talking about our days and then that feeds into like how we're feeling about that. And then you end up talking about your marriage. But I will say, Jeremy was not particularly loquacious when we got together. Like that has been a process of drawing out and him getting more comfortable and us feeling more safe with each other. And exactly what you said, just practice, like just starting with, how's your day? And like actually wanting to hear about it.
And it doesn't start, because lots of times wives, like we will do this too, is we will, when they don't want to talk as much, we will push.
Yes.
And then we start going, well, you never talk. Yeah. You never want to say anything.
We protest.
Okay, we're not setting them up. We're not being, I'll use the word safe, but we're not a safe place for them to open up about anything. Yeah. And also if we invite them into conversation and then that conversation, we're going to drag on for an hour and it's going to turn into an argument.
Or we're nitpicking them to death.
Yes.
Yeah. Or you ask a question and then it feels like a trap because they didn't answer the right way.
Yeah.
So we do that and we have to be careful of doing that. And so there is a way to communicate. And I know, we get the what ifs, all the time. Well, what about the husband who doesn't do this? Or what about the husband who doesn't say this or whatever? And it's like to those couples, because some of it's like, it takes time. It takes time. Give him a shot. And that's where we have to be really careful because we start saying, I tried that. He won't. I tried, I did ask him to start doing that and he won't do it. Okay, well, let's evaluate how we're having these conversations. Let's evaluate how we're having other healthy conversations. And some things just take time. Yeah. Because oftentimes what happens, because there's kind of a pattern, an escalating pattern when we're asking for something, say it's the trash, you didn't take the trash out. And then he doesn't respond the way that I want him to. And so now we're in this dialogue. And now it's not only just about the trash. We'll take the ask and make it about, well, what's adjacent to it? What's next to the trash? Well, the dishwasher is. And you said the other day that you were going to do this dishwasher. And now, we start going back and forth. And now we bring up history. You never help me when I need it. You're always doing this. And meanwhile, that reticular activating system is gathering information and feeding you. It is pumping you more negative information about your spouse. Yeah. And now you've moved on to character assassination.
Yeah. We should pretty much just take never and always out of vocabulary, unless it's like, I'm always going to love you and I'm never going to leave you. Like, that's it.
Amen.
And
Amen.
Another thing about conversation that I had to learn that's just like a really practical tip is we're not going to have a really great conversation the second he walks in the door.
No.
Like, I think we desire that connection, especially if you've been home with kids all day and you want that. It's not going to happen. Like, whether they had an hour drive or a 10-minute drive, they are letting him get in the house and unwind a little bit and connect with the kids and connect with me and be home has been super helpful. And what's funny is that now sometimes he walks in, he's like, bathroom, I gotta debrief and tell you about this day. Today that we're recording, Jeremy got rear-ended on his way to work.
Oh no.
Guarantee you he's gonna walk in and be like, listen to this.
Yeah.
But that's not the norm. And so just like I used to be really bad about that. Like, he'd walk in and then be like, hi, come to me, an adult, tell me things, and just letting him breathe a little bit. I found that if I gave him some time, he would be the one to initiate conversation and desire to go a little bit deeper and, further. I just thought about that while you were talking, but I do think that back and forth between the mental load, who's doing what, the little petty arguments we get into, and being safe to bring our issues to one another. Gosh, that's probably what a lot of people are trying to find the balance of.
Yeah. We've got all these little patterns that we get into. And that's one of the biggest problems is we get good at falling into negative patterns.
Yeah.
Into these, like Jamie was saying, these negative interactions, because we're not getting what we're wanting. Our expectations aren't being met. We're not feeling loved. It feels like a break of relationship. So then they escalate. We've got this anxiety that feeds into that because we're relational beings. We're created for relationship. And so when it's not going well, then we've got these dances that we'll do because of how we've learned how to navigate conflict in relationship.
Yeah.
And we all have got our own little thing, and you put people together, certain types together, it's scary predictable.
Yeah.
Scary predictable.
Yeah.
And everybody kind of knows that. Well, you got to learn better ones. You got to learn how how do we disrupt that? How do we, because we're very habitual. The brain loves to habitualize as much as it can, automate as much as it can, so that way it can get back to new information. That's why we can drive a car and not really remember, push your foot and all this kind of stuff, because it habitualizes that. Well, if we start to habitualize fun or comfortable talk, or just those kind of things, then all of this that becomes a new pattern and starts to push out the other pattern. So it becomes the 8-lane superhighway that then we're now using versus this other one that still can tempt us. Will still invite us to go, no, but you need to yell so that way he'll pay attention.
Yeah.
Right. There's still that. But where we start doing some of that other stuff, where appreciation steps in.
Yeah.
And where we remember, hey, you know what? I do appreciate that you're at least staying in this conversation with me right now, even though I know it might be tough for you. Little stuff like that reroutes our pattern, disrupts that, and helps move us back into relationship, move us back closer together, where then it's easier for us to stay less self-protective, stay, less emotionally reactive.
Yeah. Well, and I think ultimately what the biggest thing for Jeremy and I's relationship was when we took our eyes off of each other and realized that, like, I am the only thing that I can, like, air quotes, fix in this situation. I think both of us would admit that we spent a pretty fair amount of time early in our marriage trying to fix each other, trying to, and you know what? That doesn't even always come from like a negative, like manipulative, like I love the real trend that was going around. Like, I married potential, I married him when all he had was potential. And that you see their trauma, you see their baggage, and so you want to help them unload it, and you just see what it could become. And that's great. Very rarely does healing and growth actually work that way. And it really comes from like leaning in with Jesus. And so there came this point, we actually did a podcast episode, I can't remember if it was the beginning of this year or last year, where we talked about, and it was cool to hear it, like, when you've like walked through something and then you talk about it and you're like, oh, that's how that went down for you. Like that's different than I thought it was. Like I got to the point where it wasn't even about him. I was tired of living with all of the anxiety and there were patterns and generational things that I didn't want to follow. And so I just went like ham on Jesus. I just like all in, chips on the table. This is it. And he talked in the episode about pretty much like waking up one day and realizing my wife is outpacing me, as it was his words, like reading her Bible every day, and she's growing and she's changing and she's maturing. And like, what am I doing? And so he started picking up his Bible and he started leaning in at church and, having conversations. And then he got into therapy. And then I remember like one day us kind of looking at each other and being like, things are like really good. Yeah. Like, we're getting it. We're figuring it out. We're communicating and working together and believing the best about each other. And I think everything we've covered in this episode is vital and so helpful. But I don't know if I think any of that's possible if your eyes aren't on Jesus more than your spouse.
No, and that was our journey. Is when I focused on me, what I needed to change, where I needed to grow, what the Lord was calling me to. And he focused on that. And then the beautiful thing was, while we're focusing in that direction, God is changing us. And now he's bringing us together. And now I can come to him and say, this is what the Lord taught me. Yeah. This is what I'm learning. This is what I'm struggling with. This is what I'm still mad at myself that I can't get, that I know that I should be doing, but I can't. And he's doing the same thing. And then what's beautiful about that is you get to a place in your relationship where now, if I see something going on in him where he does need growth, I have full freedom and permission. And it doesn't come across as judgment. It's like he invites that. And so now God uses me in this beautiful way to change him.
Yeah. And you've earned the right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I always say, like the relational equity is there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to that concept of being best friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. If this is someone was your best friend, you could go up to them and say, hey,
what are you doing?
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna go into guy talk and I'm like, well, we're going, dude, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
And it's just let me smack you up at the back of the head and then come in and hug you. That's how guys kind of operate. But but we're a little more forthcoming.
Yes.
Where it's like, oh, I could never tell my spouse that. I could never tell my wife that. No, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? You need to get to a place you can.
Yeah. We had our first moment like that was probably end of last year. God had been really clear. Like, you have fought enough battles for a lifetime. I need you to let me fight them you've got some healing to do and some resting to do. And something had come up and I wanted to fight. Oh yeah. Put me in, coach. And I will never forget, I'm doing the dishes and he's pacing like on the other side of the island. And I was kind of like, oh, okay. I'm like, what? Like, I don't know, maybe a work thing. And he finally was like, okay, I have to tell you something. And I was like, oh, yeah. And he reiterated to me what God had told me and what I had told him, God told me. And he was like, God is asking you to rest. God is asking you to learn how to be a daughter. And I think you need to let him fight this battle. And he said it kind of like you pull out, what are those called? Shoot. He pulled the pin on a hand grenade and threw it.
Grenade.
Like, oh, how's this gonna go?
Yeah.
And I start sobbing, but the good kind of, oh my gosh, you're right. This is pressure off. And then also just so much gratitude that my husband would speak that over me. And then he starts crying because he was like, I did not know how that was going to go. I was really nervous, but it was a turning point for our marriage of, I think when you've had to muddle through saying hard things to one another and it not go super well, you have to relearn, hey, he's not trying to cut me. He's trying to make sure I don't cut myself.
Yes.
And that I don't end up bleeding out over something that the Lord has delivered me from. And that was a hard-earned moment for us.
Yeah.
That was a turning point, because then now the door is open. You don't want to abuse that and just be a jerk and tell your spouse all the things that are wrong with them.
Bust out a list.
Right. Yeah.
God's telling me that you need to make me a sandwich.
Exactly. Don't push it. But now we have this new level of being able to lean in with one another and be I love you, but I haven't even seen your Bible around in a minute. And he's like, yeah, because it's been in my truck for a week. You know what I mean? Those kinds of things. And that, I think that the overarching theme of everything that we've talked about is time and sticking it out long enough to give God the room to move and work.
Yeah. I think probably my biggest turning point was when I realized I need to bring Jamie's issues to God instead of trying to fix them myself. I needed to pray.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was praying for her. Sometimes it was praying over her. When she said, hey, this is going on and all this with the anxiety, and me going, you know what? Let's go to the Lord in prayer.
Yeah.
Let's, and nightly, let me pray over this.
Yeah.
And even when she's like, it's not fixing anything. And it's not, why are we even bothering you?
It's not working.
I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know y'all have a resource for people to pray for their spouses, right?
We do. We have a 30-day praying for your husband and 30-day praying for your wife challenge. You sign up through emails. We cover tons of topics. So it's all rooted in scripture, and there's additional resources attached to some of them, but it really is, praying over specific things for husbands, things that they need. And for husbands to pray, over their wives and I do a little bit of teaching. We'll teach a little bit in them, as well. And so they're very informative, but the most important thing is it is 30 days straight of praying scriptural prayers over one another. And so it's totally free. Yeah.
We'll put the link to that in the show notes. I think Jeremy and I might partake, because that sounds awesome. Because I do think sometimes you can be like, I don't know, God, I pray for him. It's like, I love him, help him. I don't got anything else right now, and he should be one of like the most important things that I'm praying for and covering. I think sometimes when like they're so close, it can be hard to know how to do that, but that I know can be radical for a marriage.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, we've gotten some great feedback, great emails. People like, wow, this not only had helped impact our marriage, it changed me during the process.
Yeah. That's probably the number one response we get.
Yeah. That's what prayer does, right? Like, I'm not praying to change anybody. I'm praying to change me, change my heart, like reveal in me and replace in me what needs to be. And I don't know. I just love you guys so much. I love getting to sit with y'all. I learned so much. And I just love that we talked about this at the top, but just that like, you're not out here trying to be like, look how perfect our marriage has always been and is and will be forever. And as someone that's coming up behind you guys in marriage, like Jeremy and I can be like you guys in however many years, like that would be the goal. We have 2 daughters. All I want is for them to love Jesus and have husbands that love them like Jesus does. And we are like, my podcast producer texted me earlier out of the blue. And he was like, y'all are doing the work right now. Like this is the work right now that will pay dividends in the future. And I know like y'all were in the trenches at one point too, with younger kids and all of the different seasons that you get to walk out with each other. And I love getting to like see this season of Chris and Jamie.
Yes.
Great. And I really love it.
Yeah, we love it too.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming on. I highly recommend people check out your podcast, follow you guys on socials, because the fun does not end here.
Thanks, Blake.
Thanks, Blake.